Yeah, look, I think where that started was obviously social media can be an extremely powerful. It can be also very extremely detrimental to you as a person. So you can say some stuff or comments, and that may not help you.
Yeah.
And I think I had some mentors around me at that time that sort of went, "Hey, look, you really need to think about your brand. What's Paul Foster? What's you? So if you're always out there being boisterous and having a say, is that you? Is that really you, or is that someone you just trying to big note yourself or try to get yourself out there?" And I think I started to think about, well, am I doing the right thing here?
hmm
Am I doing the right thing for me as a person?
Today's episode is brought to you by applaudable.net. Hey, Paul Foster, how you going, mate?
Good, thanks yourself.
Yeah, not too
Right?
bad. I've connected with you and I've known you through basketball for a while, through our state programs and things here. And I spoke with you. I saw that you were doing video editing, sporting highlights, and that's a business that you've only created in the last year. And the reason I thought it was worth talking to you about that is because a few years ago you had some experience at a club where you almost walked away from a sport that you absolutely love, which was, and I love, which is basketball.
Yep.
And I wanted to speak about how opportunity has presented itself that has kept you involved in the sport, and now you've pursuing that as a passion, and
Mm.
you're actually developed a business around some of your experience. So let's
Yeah.
find out a little bit about yourself first, and just say,
Yep.
how long you've been doing basketball and where you've been involved.
Um, as a kid, I always loved the sport,
hmm
and then also when we did that as a senior, playing A grade up here in Townsville, and then I went to Brisbane for a little while. I got into coaching. Like I started to coach um, some under 18s with Dave Derwin.
Oh
I
yeah.
suppose I had my first experience of um, how brutal sometimes coaching can be. In that, when I was put in charge of a under 16 team, I think, and back then I was probably just new to the sport as well, and as a rep coach, and then I got told, "Oh, look, some parents have come along and complain because you yell out on the sideline, and we can't give you that team." And I was like, "What the?" Was it Jason Cameron was in charge
Oh
then at
yeah.
Southwest, but Jason was really good, and he hooked me up with Dave Derwin. So and I then became Dave Derwin's assistant with an under 18 boys team, and that was real enjoyable. I loved it.
hmm
Learned a lot from Dave, and still in touch with him. And then I sort of started doing some QBL stuff with Southwest.
Yeah.
So really just like an apprentice coach and taking some stats
hmm
and that type of stuff. No video back then, so like I think it was very hard to get video. I did that, and that was quite enjoyable. And then obviously I got transferred back to Townsville. There was a job back here, and wanted to bring the family sort of back up to home. I was a part of the Sharp Start program with the Crocs, just helping out with Liam Flynn and them, and um, I really loved that style, that coaching, being on the floor, um, and then I did some stuff with the state teams, and then I suppose with Townsville basketball. That's when things, I think, started to sort of drop for me.
Yeah.
I applied for positions and then was just not getting those jobs where you thought, well, I thought I'd done a good enough apprenticeship and
Yes.
done enough to show that I can coach. Um, yeah, and then it was sort of like, well, you know, I felt a little bit like my self-worth wasn't being appreciated and what I'd given up.
Yeah.
Close to 8 years, 9 years there. No, I think it was about 8 years.
Going back a couple of years, I actually
Mm.
saw where you were at. It was very clear that you were having a tough time in the sport and you were almost ready to walk, and then you were presented several months after the first couple of posts where you're saying, I don't think I can do this anymore. You announced an opportunity had been offered to you to become part of a professional women's NBL program in doing video. So do you want to speak about what doing video actually entails at a professional level?
Yeah. Look, I will say this much, at that point, I made a decision that I wasn't going to do a team that I was offered. Simple.
Yeah.
And then at that point, I was doing some stuff for QBL still, like doing a little bit of video with Huddle. And I was starting to get into Huddle, which is obviously a software program to break down footage. And I was doing that for Mike St. Maurice. So, obviously, Claudia Brassard is Mike St. Maurice's wife, and she was involved with the Fire. And I tried to sort of go, hey, look, I'm interested in doing something like this with the Fire. And at that point, there was Chris Lucas was still there, and they did a little things different at that point. But when Claudia took over the reins there, she just sort of said, oh, look, would you like, sort of put it out to me there, come in and help out. So I went in and I would be sitting in her office and she would be teaching me a little bit of of sports code, which is a different offline program. And then I started to learn that. And I was only doing some basic stuff like going through the video and breaking down in on-ball screens, or were they running presses or whatever they were. So I wasn't right in the amount of detail that I am right now, but I'll get into that. So
just for our audience to explain, so you've mentioned two pieces of software there. So Huddle is a video capturing type software, and you can tag within it, but your sports code is also a tagging software. So the sports code is quite a complex program. You almost need to be like a musician with your speed at which you...
It actually is easier than that. The thing is, sports code, if you think about it, is offline, or off the internet.
Yes.
So you can download footage and put it into a package, and then you can use what they call a code window, which then breaks the game down into little segments as such. So, and Huddle can do that as well, but it's online. So you've got to do that through the internet. So, and it's really starting to become, Huddle is becoming a software to be able to share stuff with athletes and coaches, and also to keep a library of your stuff. And you can break it down and use it.
So you're at the Townsville Fire, and that's the women's NBL program up there, North Queensland in Townsville, and they actually... Not long after you become involved, within a couple of years, you actually got yourself a championship ring. Yeah,
that was pretty exciting to be, Craig, really. How it all come about, really, because I got offered a volunteer contract. Volunteer means not a lot of dollars, nothing. But I got some shirts and that. Hey, that's not bad. But being involved is what I wanted to do. I wanted to be involved. Being around Claudia Brassard, Mark Roble, PC Crawford, Rachel McCulley, those people, those coaches, and such knowledge of the game, and just that was just great to be a part of. And the first year, I did a bit more than what I did the initial year I was involved, and then we 2017-2018 season. Signed again, and prior to that, I went down to Sydney to a conference, Huddle conference. Prior to the conference, there was workshops in relation to sports code. So I did that. I did those levels, and for 3 days, paid all my own way and everything like that. But it was for me. It was about how can I better myself? So the only way to do that is I've got to go and get it. I've got to do it myself, and I've got to go and um, learn stuff um, for myself, and that's how I felt, at that point in time, and I did it, and it was just on the start of the season too.
Yeah.
So Claudia was really good about that, and I went down there and I used their Mac, and I was pretty excited about it all. And I think after the first night, the first day, I totally recreated our code window that we had for our game nights, and that was version number 1, and
Yeah.
now I'm at version number 10, I think.
Okay.
So
That
things
when you talk about created the coding windows, you're talking
yeah,
about what you're pushing and to
yeah,
determine what things are happening in games. Just explain for
yeah,
the audience. So
yeah,
the concept is you were riding on the back of your own knowledge and a little bit that you'd picked up over time with experimentation and things like that.
yeah,
So you've decided,
yeah,
no, I want to get a little bit serious about. I want to. I guess it's something that comes out of wanting to be of maximum benefit. It's the old saying,
yeah,
it takes as much effort to do something the wrong way as it does to do it the right way. So you may as well do it the right way.
right,
So
yeah,
you've gone and
yeah,
invested in your own education to help the organisation and get more benefit out of what you're actually doing, which is a testament to anyone who
right,
has a passion. One of the things they do is they actually often go and learn more about their passion. So you've
yeah,
definitely invested in
and
your own self development.
yeah, and that was how I saw it. I said I've got to do this. So once I did, um, it just went from there, and I was involved with Townsville basketball, back with the QBL, doing stuff for Mike St. Maurice there, and we got to the finals.
Mm-hmm.
But before that was the biggest thing was being a part of the NBL championship, WNBL championship, and with the Fire, and that sort of that year, Susie Baktovich is playing. We've got. I'm looking up on the wall at the photo actually. So it was pretty special. Mia Murray was there, Makara Cox, Darcy Garvin. So we had a really locked-in group, and they really took on huddle. If I could say that, I did training sessions with them so that they knew what was happening, and
Mm-hmm.
we put up player scouts, and they'd be able to view them on the road. They'd be able to download them to their iPads or phones, and they were watching stuff. So they bought in.
Yeah.
They bought into it, and then we get to the grand finals. Obviously, get 3 games. We win the one at home. Um, Claudia and Mark Roble helped me get down to Melbourne.
Mm-hmm.
At the time, that was that year that I was in that limbo year.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
that's the year I was not doing any rep. My daughter was playing under 18s at Sunny Coast,
Okay.
and I drove to Brisbane like at 4 a.m. in the morning. Caught a flight from Brisbane to Melbourne on grand final day, or the game 2. Got to Melbourne. Basically, it was nearly get there and then go to the game. I actually coded the game live, how we do our games at home,
Mm-hmm.
which was basically we had a timeline window or the package with a video running in the background. It
Yeah.
could have been anything. It could have been Days of Our Lives, but it was actually a game that we had, and I would just code the game off the window, what I could see on the court, and then I would marry it up with the footage. Now we did that. I did that 2 years running, doing that type of that way. But at the end of the game, I was able to get the video and match it all up,
Mm-hmm.
give it to the coaches. Obviously, we didn't. We went to a game 3.
Yes.
And that's very debatable if you watch that footage again. Just watch the last
You've got
minute.
the footage, mate. So I'll take
I've
your
got the
word
footage.
for it.
There was a foul, let's just say that much. But anyway, we won't go into that. But I then fly back to Brisbane Stadium, from Melbourne. I slept on the floor in the motel room, but hey, look, it was the experience in itself.
Yeah.
And to be there, packed stadium, and then I went back, and then obviously got back to Townsville for Game 3, and the hype around Townsville was amazing. You know, like we already got 2 banners in the roof. This could be our third. You know, and I was thinking, well, you know, just being here is good.
Mm-hmm.
Just being here, and I remember saying to Claudia, "Hey, do you want me to code this game?" She's like, "Nah, what happens after this doesn't matter." So she said, "Sit behind the bench," and mate, that was an incredible experience as a coach, just to be behind the bench in a grand final game, and to see, you know, the coaches talking and all that, you know, all that information. You're just sucking it in, and you're trying to take as much in, and you know, to see Susie Baktovich, you know, if you don't know her really well, just so determined.
Mm-hmm.
You know, when she addressed the players,
yeah,
and I felt that, you know, you just learnt so much from that, from people and the people you're around. And that year, you know, we win it, and we're ecstatic, and we're jumping up and down, and you know, it's surreal. Just everyone around the club, it was just so awesome. You know, you can't describe sometimes how you felt, but and then what blew me away big time is you didn't expect to get a ring like that. That was something that I was shocked, because you know, you're working hard, you're doing long hours and late nights and all that, and then you get called up on stage to get a ring, and it's like, holy mackerel, you know,
yeah.
this is real, and it was really satisfying. But I think, you know, there's things like, you know, family too, you know, they sometimes suffer because you're doing something you love, and you tend to get involved in that so much too. And you probably know that.
Yeah.
You've probably been there as well.
You know, you're absorbed. I actually have been married to the sport for a very long time, so I didn't get married, and I always said it'd take a very special lady to actually catch me, because they'd have to be at a basketball stadium 24/7. So they have to be very, very, very flexible. But so no, fully understand the amount of time and energy that it can absorb when you actually are passionate about what you do or love the sport. So obviously you played it from a young age. You went into the coaching side of things. You had kids involved, and you said they really weren't going to have a choice. They were always going to play basketball, and then you've stayed involved, and I think the commonality that, and I've had experiences. I've been across clubs and been at clubs for a long time, and actually interviewed someone who also had been a club recently and been there and invested for a while, and we were both discussing how when things went south due to politics for us, we became clubless, and you sort of question what's all this about and what's next and what for, and you've gone through that experience and come out through an opportunity, and you've had personal development, you've had opportunities, like you say, to be part of a championship winning program. And you've now developed, and you're continuing to evolve what you're doing with the Fire, and you're still on the road to self-development, because we bumped into each other at the NBL. You're at the Brisbane Bullets. You kindly ventured down, and the Bullets kindly gave you what was the word that their video guy Steve said, he had a special treatment. You're getting the special treatment. Which is basically all the behind the scenes sort of stuff. And obviously they got a bigger budget, so there was a lot of things there that you saw that you can't necessarily do at the moment, but you could see opportunity to implement down the track. So what was some of the experience when you went down to the Brisbane Bullets, which is the Brisbane men's team in the NBL, the National Basketball League? What was that experience like for you, and what have you taken back to the Fire? What is that?
Look, I think Craig, it was a great experience because I decided that, okay, I need to get down there to see what Steve Catlin and I have been. He's the head of video there. I call him the head of video, and analytics at the Bullets. And him and I have been pretty close in this, I suppose, video world. And we decided that he was coming up here to see what I did, and I went, oh, okay. And then I saw a window of opportunity to get down there for a game. So I got a flight and said to him, I'm coming down on this date. Is it okay? Is this all good? And he cleared it with Andre and the Bullets, and I got down there and I flew in. And let's just say this much: I think the NBL's really gone forward massively, and it's going to continue, I think. And I was amazed when I walked in the door at the Bullets, how accommodating they were, introducing to people, CEOs and Junior.
Yeah,
manager.
Junior Albert.
Always Junior Albert. I'll shout out to him because he made me at home. Whatever you want, you tell me what you need, and Steve showed me around the venue and sort of went through his game day routine and what he does and how he sets everything up and also what the Bullets are doing. Like I got around, that's when I saw you and got around to see what the Bullets are doing in that space with the kids, and it's just amazing, incredible. And then to see pre-game and to see all that was really, really cool. Didn't get to go into the locker room pre-game because we were setting up and I was doing stuff with Steve, but got to go in there at the end when they won and hear their song, and they do sing a song in there.
Yeah.
But it was really good. You know what I mean? Like you got to see stuff, and you got to see they're extremely professional, and what Steve is doing, and I won't try to get into too much of his IP and that type of stuff, but what they're doing is incredible. Is really pushing some boundaries. And I said, look, I think I could do this, I could probably do some of this and help our coaches. So when he came up to Townsville, flip it, and he brought some stuff up for us to sort of trial and use, and we were able to do stuff that was pretty cool for our coaches, and they were like, that's pretty cool. And this year we were able to do a live capture and code. So just so people know, that's basically I'm coding the game live, and I'm also capturing the footage from a camera. So at the end of the game, I can just basically save it and give it to the coach, which saves heaps of time, close to 45 minutes after a game. So a lot of those little things came into play. But what the Bullets are doing, with Steve and sending him on the road and their analytics stuff is, really, really powerful. And they're really, I think, they've got the stuff to continue on. But ultimately, Craig, to come and see what other people are doing, I think is important. And I think sometimes too, you can't be a person that goes, oh, this is all mine. Like you can't see it, and I'm not showing you, because to be honest, coaching is that way. The internet these days, you can go and look at a drill and someone say, oh, gee, that's a nice drill. And you go, yeah, it is. It's called the Foster drill. Well, no, it isn't called the Foster drill. It's probably called something like Boston or something like that, because the Boston Celtics have started it. So I think you do try to do that, and I try to do that with a lot of people up here. I tried to do a clinic up here, to just sort of highlight what we do, because I think in the basketball circles, technical coaches, as sometimes they're called, or video analysis people, are very important to teams. especially probably professional teams. And then as you come down, QBL teams and NBA teams have got multiple analysts. And I think seeing what they do, the Bullets, was just great. And I thank them for that opportunity. And when I left there, I said to them, look, I might come back down. And they was like, yeah, no worries, anytime. And I think you just create that relationship with someone.
Yeah.
And then you also then are able to learn from that experience. And, I think I've now grown into a person that knows that I don't know everything.
Yeah.
And I still need to learn. And in my game that I'm in now, when I say game, in my stuff that I do now, it's important to keep up with what's happening. And you know yourself, if you don't do that, then you're going to be left behind. And that comes with teams that don't have analysts.
Yeah.
And that's I think is quite important. Why the Fire ended up doing that was because of Warwick Can, who is involved there as the director, and Claudia, seeing that there was time that Claudia could, or the coaches could be on court more. So how can they do that? Well, having someone break down the footage and present the footage in a way where they can then just pick it apart and make their scout, or that makes it a hell of a lot less time on them, and they can spend more time with the players.
Yeah.
So I think that's how coaches need to think about those people like myself who are analysts, and do that job.
So interestingly, they're saying stats don't lie, and nor does video. So that's the advantage of it. So I know as a coach, I've always been big on utilising video to demonstrate things to players and have them buy in. And I think to that degree, it is very time consuming because I've done it on my own. I've tagged games to show and review to athletes, and it is not it's a time consuming process. So it's in your case, you're doing it on the fly at games, whereas often with sports code and things like that, if you're not doing it live and you don't have video running and doing it on the fly, and you're just tagging a video, it can take hours after the game if you didn't do it at the time of the game.
Yeah, so. And that used to happen, in the early probably couple of years with the Fire. But like now, Huddle's got Huddle Assist, which can break down the game for you, and then you can utilise what they call an XML data file, put it into the game, and then draw information out of that. So that's what I do now. So I prepare like what we call a pre-scout as such, and then prepare that for the coaches, and then I give that to the head coach and say, here you go. And I might break it down into things that different offenses, or I can see a call made and I'll just go, yeah, right, that looks like a thumb or a finger or whatever. So you're sort of looking for stuff. So you become really attuned to the video. A lot of times you turn it down because it's got so much noise, but sometimes you can actually hear them call out the play or whatever it is. But at the end of the day, some coaches get really sneaky and don't call out anything. So, but it's about trying to prepare. And I think Townsville Bulletin did an article on me here and called it like intelligence. So it's like you get the intelligence on that team. Like in my job in the police service, we have what we call intel officers who gather information in for us. So that's what I try to do, is get as much information to the coaches. So I'll prepare every week. In a week, I could probably do, in my early years, can I just be honest with you, I'd probably spend about 10 hours or maybe even more a week, maybe even more sometimes, close to 2 to 3 hours a night. I'd go into my little cave that I'm in here. My wife calls the Huddle Hub, and close the door, and I'd be here till midnight, 1 o'clock, breaking down film. And I've got quicker at it and got better at it. So therefore, obviously, that takes a little bit less time. I can probably do 2 or 3 games now, double speed, and probably less than 3 hours, or 2 or 3 hours. So that compared to long before, you'd be doing 5 to 6. So you get better at it and you get quicker at it. So that in itself, and then you prepare that. Yeah.
Your pattern recognition would be pretty good, wouldn't it? Your pattern recognition would be pretty good then, wouldn't it? Seeing same things in plays and things.
Yeah, like you can see, it's quite interesting. And you know, like you've been in the sport long enough to know that if you watch video enough, you'll see, and you watch some teams enough, you'll see certain actions that are familiar all the time, or certain players in those actions. And that's where they score out of. So sometimes it can come off a loose ball, but most times it can be off that action. So it's really, really, you get really attuned to it, if I can say that much. You get really, really, you can see it and you go, oh, there it is. And you can work out, oh, that's a horn set. That looks like a turnout set, something to that effect. That's flow, so you start to get used to some of your sets. And it was interesting, I was just talking about that, was that Claudia Bassar, I think the second year after the championship, to develop my game, she recommended that I go and look at offenses. So I actually go and study offenses. So go and study Boston, go and study Cleveland, those type of offenses, to see whether you can see some of them coming into the sport. And I think that was sort of something I went, wow, you need to be a student of the game as such, and really start to hone it in. And I think I'm better at that now.
Yes.
And so, and I suppose now with the Fire, we didn't have 2 good seasons. We haven't had a couple of good seasons there, but I think we can turn it around with some of the stuff that I've been able to bring, ideas.
Yes.
And see how we go.
So this big opportunity you've had and the personal growth and everything has now led you to, even though you have a core job as a cop, you're actually, and you're doing this for the love, the current tagging and everything, you've actually got a side hustle now of creating sports highlights for people who are looking to get to college. So do you want to explain a little bit about Coach Foss sports highlights?
Yeah, look, I think it's sort of evolved, if I can say that much. It's over the last probably 18 months. So it was what ended up happening was, with the Fire, we had some athletes. Alexander Fowler, Haley Andrews from up here. We're looking at getting video to colleges, and so I was sort of helping them put together some film, splice it together and try to get it together as in from a huddle, or do something to that effect, and try to help them out. And it started with huddle, and then we started using a bit of sports code, and that wasn't too bad. And then I decided that, okay, I'm going to have to buy sports code. So I made a purchase of a pro review, which is really just the bottom end of it.
Yeah.
And I started to do that, and it sort of evolved from there. And I had some more athletes come in from Townsville, and then I decided that was going decently well. So then I said, oh, look, I'm going to start a business. I'm just going to call it Coach Foss, because that was my Hotmail address is coachfoss@hotmail.com.au. So I decided, I'll call myself Coach Foss. So I just started it out as a page, and then it sort of just grew. It was actually, it was quite phenomenal. And humbling that it sort of grew from there.
Actually, one of my gripes with you when you first started doing that, can you stand up a little bit, show the logo on your shirt, because I need an explanation. All right, so you can have a sit down. Now, one of my gripes with you for the first couple of weeks you were promoting yourself on social media is I kept hitting
Yeah,
your image thinking it was going to play. I thought it was like a thumbnail to a video
yeah,
because it
yeah.
played simple. And I'm like, he bloody got me again. It's not a video at all. It's just his logo. So I thought I was going
No,
to be
yeah.
watching something.
No, it was like I decided then I needed a logo. So
Hmm.
I sort of started up this thing, and then I went, yeah, I'll get a logo. And my wife works. There's a lady that works. Her husband is a doctor, and she does designing. So GRD designing.
Hmm.
So Gina, she did the cards up originally, or the logo.
Yeah.
She gave me about 10 designs, mate, and we got down to that one, and I just loved it. I just said, "Yep,
Yeah.
that's unique in itself." And then obviously I then created my business name, and and then off the business went, and I think when I talk and what I want to say is that the reason why I started it was to help parents and to help athletes, and that it's sort of aligned quite well with Aussie Basketball USA, and I'm also with Aussie and New Zealand Basketball Scouts as well.
Yeah.
But I've linked with a few people, but it really is amazing that people come in and go, "Hey, my son needs a package," and before we came on, I think we were talking about branding.
Hmm.
Remember, we
Yeah, we
talking about
did.
branding, and I
Yeah.
touched on it, and I think what I tried to do is in the early years I was trying to build that brand, me, who I
Yes.
was, and then now it's the Coach Foss brand. So I try to make sure that what I provide is simple. It's not nothing flash, but it just gets to the point and gets those athletes out there. And when I talk to parents that ring me up, I tell them about what I do. I'm a level 2 coach. I work with WNBL teams, QBL teams,
Hmm.
cutting footage, and doing exactly what I do there: create highlights for players to scout.
Yeah.
So um, then it just sort of evolved from that, and then all of a sudden, I am where I am now, and I got some posters, got some merch and cards that I send out to people, and I get the clients will send me their video on USBs or hard drives or whatever they can get them to me on, and then I basically go to and start doing it. It takes me a while, and a lot of them I do ask people, what's the timeline? What timeline have I got to work with? Because stuff comes in also.
Yeah.
So uh, and I'm doing this, as well as doing police work and at home at night. So
And you've got the
and
NBL season, women's NBL season when they're on as well. So you're juggling all those
yeah,
different commitments. And you've got
yeah,
family, which is what you alluded to before. Sometimes
that's right.
your
Yeah,
family's got to be very,
yeah.
very understanding. So,
Well, they are there, and the thing is now, like, I mean, I sort of have decided that this year, especially after WNBL's done, now that I want to concentrate on the fire a little bit
hmm.
and sort of help them with that technical program and help Shannon. There'll be a recruitment. There'll be obviously all
Yeah.
that stuff going on. So doing what I can to help him and the club
Hmm.
and sort of take a step away a little bit and just concentrate on the business. Do a little bit of work with Basketball Queensland in that space as well. Education, support coaches. So that's been exciting too, to be able to educate people
Yeah.
and educate them on what it is. And I think BQ Basketball Queensland is really starting to open up in that space
Hmm.
of video analysis.
Yeah.
And Steve and I are involved there as well. So that's been good.
Yeah.
And we're right in the thick of it right now with under 20s. So yeah,
That sounds good.
yeah, it's pretty cool.
Yeah, so I just want to go back to something you said a moment ago, which was about personal branding. And you said when you were, and this was off or before we recorded the interview,
Yep.
you're talking about at the time in your or period in your life where you were considering walking away from the sport,
Mm.
that you had some conversations with people around just being careful about your own personal brand, not the Coach Foss brand,
Yep.
but the actual
Yep.
personal brand and what that meant. Do you want
Yep.
to share with the audience exactly
Yep.
what that conversation did for you and how it changed your perspective about where things were headed?
Yeah, look, I think where that started was obviously social media can be an extremely powerful. It can be also very extremely detrimental to you as a person. So you can say some stuff or comments, and that may not help you.
Yeah.
And I think I had some mentors around me at that time that sort of went, "Hey, look, you really need to think about your brand. You know, you Pip, what's Paul Foster? What's you? So if you're always out there being boisterous and having a say, is that you? Is that really you, or is that someone you just trying to big note yourself or try to get yourself out there?" And I think I started to think about, well, am I doing the right thing here?
Hmm.
Am I doing the right thing for me as a person if I want to be a state coach or be involved with the WNBL programs
Yeah.
or QBL programs? You really need to sort of think about what they'll see in your social media or what they'll see, what you're saying. So I I took a lot of that on board. It took me a while. Let's say that much. It did take me a while because I think as a person you go, oh, why should I do that? Like, but then when you start to sit back and think about that, Craig,
Mm. Mm. It's
you actually go,
how you perceive the world and how the world perceives you are two different things.
that's exactly right. And so I then went, right, I need to trim that down and just look after my brand. And then I just knuckled down and did all the stuff that I'm doing now, like, with Huddle and sports code and putting positive stuff out there and being trying to change the way I am as a person.
Mm.
And then all of a sudden, obviously, doors opened up, and then when you're involved with the WNBL team, you need to be extremely careful because when you sign a contract, there's something probably on that contract somewhere where it says you need to be aware of social media and there's policies and
Yeah.
same with Townsville basketball. So
And our sport
um,
has those policies in place now and has for some time. And I remind athletes that are involved in the programs I'm involved with the same. And I'm very more self-aware about what I'm putting on social media.
yeah.
Actually, I tend to delete some posts after the fact too, where I haven't given it full thought sometimes,
Yeah.
but it's just the
Well, there
nature.
has been, yeah, well, and there has been times where I think I've been involved with teams, even junior teams. Like I've had well, under 18 girls last year, and before that, I came back in doing some under 18 boys, and just making them sort of understand, what you put out there is seen for everyone. And then you know, being involved with that age group, and in the job that I am, you see so much too. So, but the bottom line is you're trying to educate them, and I think as a coach, it's important to, I think, you get more respect if you're trying to teach them the right way of doing stuff, and
Mm,
and then I worked out, well, hey, I'm not doing the right thing,
yeah.
so I changed that, and then obviously, I feel that my brand, me,
Yes.
just me, Paul Foster, is a lot better now than it was many years ago. There's people that who I know and that I've
Hmm.
been to nationals and spoken to and that, and oh, how you going? And you start to realise that you have a broader impact on people,
Mm,
and young people as well.
I really appreciate you giving your time to have a chat, and especially when I know behind the scenes right now you're doing some work, secret business, secret scouting stuff. So there's a couple of people in the state doing some work at the moment, I'm sure, tonight. Waiting on some video.
And we're doing, and like I think what you're doing. Can I just say, I've watched a lot of your podcasts and stuff. I think you're doing. This is great to have a platform. I mean, when you sort of reached out to me, I was sort of like, well, what would people want to know about what I do? But then I thought about it and I said, well, it's good for my business as well.
Yeah.
Like, thinking that way, but also, I have a passion.
Yeah.
I love now the coaching side of video analytics, and I want to teach people about that. I want to spread that word, but I also want to get back on the sidelines and coach, and and that's been great to be able to do that, and one day I'll get back there and do it. Hopefully in the near distant future. And I won a state championship with the under-18 girls Flames last year, by the way. And that was really good. We used a lot of video for that, so it just shows that it can work in all different age groups and environments. And you're passionate about something, and you're passionate about trying to get other people's passion out. And I think that's really good for you, and I applaud you for it. It's been great.
Nice. Thanks for your time. So what I'll do is I'll put some links in the description for people so they can connect with you if they want some sporting highlights, and if they want to connect with you down the track for anything related to the video side of your passion. Okay, mate. Thanks for your time. I hope you liked this episode. If you did, please give it a thumbs up and feel free to comment. If you haven't yet subscribed, hit the subscribe button and the notification bell to be advised of new interviews when they're uploaded. I hope you join us again sometime. Catch you later.